How's it going, everyone? Media Rez here. Today with a video about the first chapter of the new JoJo part, Jojolands, when the second chapter already came out. Listen, I'm a big boy now, I have a big boy job, and videos take a while to do, so I may fall behind on some things. But I don't think the video is too out of date yet. Nothing too much happened in the second chapter. We got the weird guy stand reveal, nothing big. There's a bit of tension with the mission, as always. But you know what? I did save the final panel for this live reaction. And I think they're about to reveal who the person in the villa is. I am really big on a Part 8 character. Josuke, Yashu, even Joshu, come on, it's gotta be someone good. Honestly, I'm stoked Araki's revealing it so early. The only thing I hate more than waiting is Rohan Kishibe, right? So hold on, let's see what it's here. And the person is... Jojo is back, baby! It's here, it's weird, a little queer, which makes us cheer! Oh no! Being a JoJo fan has never been more rewarding nowadays. A banger manga when it has a good release schedule, a banger anime adaptation when it has a good release schedule, and tons of out-of-context screen grabs to spread all over to try to convince others that this series makes a lick of sense. While JoJo's Bizarre Adventure may be at the pinnacle of its popularity thanks to David Productions' anime adaptation, the manga may be behind in terms of eyes. Part 8 started all the way back in 2011 and took 10 agonizing and hectic years to finish. But it was a wild ride full of drama, romance, incels, grooming, and calamity. And while it's not my favorite part 2 gang where you at, I think it exemplifies all things JoJo. But now we have a fresh new start into the series, Jojolands. And in the age of instant gratification, we had the first chapter ready and translated within 5 minutes of it coming out in Japan. And I thought One Piece translators were tenacious. This is a perfect fresh start for new JoJo fans to experience, once they finish the other 2 unanimated parts, because part skipping is of course inexcusable. But let's dive into this new part and maybe glean what is to come for the future of the series, which in my opinion is almost literally impossible for JoJo's, but content's content, baby, let's roll! JoJo is about a lot of things, thanks to the diversity in its parts. From proudly serving a code of being a gentleman, to breaking the chains of expectations brought onto you by family society, to taking over a criminal underground to establish a DARE program. But now JoJo's is about getting that fucking bag, dog! It literally says this story is about a boy becoming filthy rich in the subtropics. I would never in my life call Araki direct, but it's nice to see he's getting simpler in his old age. Jojolands takes place in sunny Hawaii, the second favorite group of islands to the Japanese, and being in a JoJo part totally makes up for Pearl Harbor, by the way. So the chapter starts out with a sight not unfamiliar to JoJo fans: police brutality. If I had a nickel for every JoJo part that started with police misconduct to establish the nature of our Joestar lead, I'd have 2 nickels. And based on my feelings for part 2, this might become my favorite part. Also, Araki's still ACAB, confirmed. Burst. Speaking of Joestars, we're finally introduced to our pair of leads, Jodio and Jodio Joestar. 2 Joestar leads this time around. A brother, and what clearly is a sister, nothing more to talk about. Let's move on to the fact that they're f***ing Zoomers. Araki reminded me of my inability to connect with the facade. This is actually the most rational explanation to why these people dress this way. So the cop starts messing with Dragona and gets a handful of violations. Jodio's not having any of this. Let it be known that Joestars may be a lot of things, but passive witnesses, they are not. They're either the ones stopping her in his acts, or the ones causing them. So Jodio demands a cop let go of his beautiful, angelic... I don't regret anything I said up to this point. Brr. Guess the search was warranted because he was definitely packing a concealed weapon. Jodio's sick of seeing this cop commit a different kind of hate crime and proceeds to spring into action with his stand, the first one we've seen this new part. It's November Rain. RIP to the comments of that music video. Its ability is to make it rain. Perfect for Jodio. It looks like if Hierophant Green and Fun spent a tension-filled evening together, which was followed by a night of passionate acts of love, which I hope both found satisfaction in. Admittedly, I couldn't really tell what Jodio was doing to these cops. At first I thought he might be related to Toru some way, because what Rain was doing to cops is similar to what Rain was doing to Josuke Mamazuku in Part 8 because of Wonder of You. But despite the ungodly form their bodies are taking, they are apparently still alive. Well, maybe its rank can take on different properties like becoming heavy, maybe in the future become boiling, freezing, or maybe even acidic. I think this is the first time a JoJo lead hasn't had a humanoid stand, so I'm interested to see what Araki is cooking here. We even get a look at Dragona's stand power when he rearranges the cop's face. Mind you, without a flurry of fists to the dome. These damn kids just don't appreciate the old way of doing things. His stand is smooth operators, and his ability is apparently rearranging anything that he touches. Or since it's a colony stand, maybe he just releases the stand onto the surface to do the rearranging itself. I know this doesn't really matter, but trust me, every word of a JoJo ability will matter in the future. These poor innocent kids were just making their way downtown, and the big bad policeman had to stop them in their tracks just when they were on a way to sell some drugs. Okay, I read the situation completely wrong. Now this may be the best time to explain what Jodio is in a meta sense. Ever since the universe reboot of Part 7, that was not caused by Poochie by the way, learned to read, we've seen new characters be nods and references to older ones. For example, Johnny is Part 7's Jonathan, but as we saw Johnny in Part 7, he is nothing like our gentle giant. Jonathan was a kind-hearted gentleman who followed his own heroic moral code, and Johnny was kind of just a selfish asshole who only cared about himself and was bitter at the world for losing his legs after a brief stint in crime. The new universe characters have some aspects of their OG counterparts, but flips them on their head so Rocky maybe can delve into more complex writing with grayer characters. I mean, let's be real, we all love Jonathan, but in terms of character intrigue, he's about as flat as a piece of paper. NANI?! So you could say that Jodio is this universe's Giorno. A 15-year-old kid working within a crime syndicate is kind of a one-to-one. Hell, if you didn't pick it up by his name literally being Jodio, then I really can't help you at this point. Only instead of Giorno's admirable goal of clearing his streets of drugs and a violence invite, Jodio just seems to care about getting his money up, which I gotta respect at this point. I mean, as a licensed Giorno hater, I'm up for any kind of new interpretation. But this crime isn't without some benefits. The brothers are so respected in the community because of the work they do, that they ensure their mom is always taken care of. The introduction of their mother leads us to see the family tree, which is pretty big, because half the fun of the series is guessing the character is 23andMe. And I'm kind of surprised we're getting it this early in the part when it was half the mystery and fun of Part 8. Turns out our leads are the grandchildren of this universe's Joseph, who was revealed at the end of Part 8. You know, in the arc of the Maiden Guardrail. Why I said like it was normal, this series is ruining me. At least now the reverse police brutality makes more sense. Burst. But it's not revealed who the pair's father is, and if we're relating back to that Giorno parallel, maybe Diego's lineage didn't stop at the tracks. Our exploration to the new Joestars continues with a look into Dragona. Oh. So to clear any confusion, which is kind of impossible, Dragona is Jodio's older brother who likes to dress up in women's attire and makes enhancements to their body to appear more feminine. Now it's kind of unclear how Dragona identifies themselves because the Japanese aren't huge on gender specifications. All we have right now is Jodio's views on him. And you know what? Destroying the welfare of your community is one thing, but misgendering is another.
I just want to say, I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and this is my best friend, Valentina. She's an ally. Talk, Valentina. Ally.
We may get more clarity as the part goes on, but for now, it really doesn't matter. This is as straight as I felt reading JoJo since Part 6. In the next part of the chapter, we're reminded that this drug mule is 15 years old, and see Jodio riding a school bus, which I think is one of the most uncanny things I've seen in JoJo. It's kind of like seeing Jojo ride a moped. Sure, it's functional, but it just doesn't feel right. He's approached by Billy Frank for some of that good stuff, but then just proceeds to beat the shit out of him. Okay, so maybe his actions of drug smuggling are questionable, but maybe he draws a line as selling to his peers. You know, to keep the well-being of his fellow students in check, and ensure the sanctity of, oh, he just wanted him to be more low-key about it. I am not good at this. It's here we get to the bottom of Jodio's ultimate goal, which is to master the mechanism. And the mechanism is something. JoJo is known for its obtuse way of explaining things. It will take usual mundane situations and concepts and turn them on its head in a way that made you realize you don't understand a concept in the first place. So bear with me as I enjoy some word soup. It's basically how things in nature and society function, and Jodio says it's something that will earn him riches and respect. The dictionary definition of a mechanism is a natural or established process by which something takes place or is brought about. The universe needs a perpetual state of movement and processes to continue. As far as we're aware, there's no invisible hand literally controlling every single thing in our universe, so things need to be in a state of perpetual happening. Things like the life cycle of a star, the reproduction of life, or even how human societies have been formed. Like King Crimson, they just work. Environmental mechanisms are referenced in the chapter by showing turtles on a beach and a volcano, which owes its activity to the mechanism of shifting tectonic plates. Now, Jodio might mean this mechanism in a more societal stance. He owes his good life now to the mechanism of trust when he was sent to smuggle drugs and a teddy bear as a kid. This was the first step in his current lifestyle, and it's all owed to the mechanism. What the f is that? So while this may seem like a new concept Araki is introducing to us, it does have ties to concepts touched upon in previous parts. While its parts are vastly different in terms of story and setting, one thing that ties all of JoJo together is that of defying the inevitable. The Joestars are cursed to always bump into things that cannot be defied by regular means. Nature, time, calamity, and most importantly, destiny. Destiny is something that cannot easily be manipulated, and those who can do it are powerful in terms of money, influence, and actual superpowers. The mechanism may now be another force that Joestar has to go up against, but how can one overcome the natural order of the universe? Well, it seems like Jodio may just want to control the mechanism rather than take it on. He's already integrated into the mechanism, and it seems to be serving him well. Just look at this kid with 0 mechanisms versus Jodio with infinite mechanisms. God, I love and hate him already. If he's either able to predict the outcome or even take control of the mechanism, he'll become, in his own words, filthy rich. I mean, his motivations will probably evolve, just like at Johnny. But Araki is serving us some simplicity, and for now, let's just appreciate it because it will not be like that in the future. Jodio and Dragona participate in some good old after-school employment at a boutique, whose owner probably has snipers trained on Dragona. Joke's on her though, he wouldn't be called dead in these Macy Gray threads. Then we're introduced to the third member of this merry band of misfits, Paco, who is totally not a rock human, guys. His stand is called the Hustle, and I'm gonna predict that the localized name will be Hustler. Easy 3-pointer. Cool name, crappy stand, which just allows him to finally control his muscles. I guess you could call it a better coon. The boss of this clear money laundering haven is their principal. She tasked the 3 amigos with stealing a priceless diamond from a Japanese tourist who just landed on the island. The excitement in the room is palpable, but dies down when the principal makes him take Pink Eye along. Is he competent? Is he knowingly part of the heist? Does he even have a stand? Who cares? He seems whimsical, and that's good enough for me. The chapter ends with a showcase of our crew stands, and Jodio breaking his legs to get in that pose. Wonderful. And so that was the beginning of Jojoland, folks. And for our first chapter, I really could not have asked for more. I was so afraid we had to wait months before getting any stand action or even meet our main cast of characters, but Araki really delivered in this one. Jodio may be a dirtier, ADHD having-ass Giorno, but he's shown in a way that helps us identify him as his own unique character. Araki clearly hasn't lost an ounce of talent when it comes to writing and artwork, and Jojolands may even become his peak. Hell, I like it better in part 3 already. So what did you think of Jojolands? And are you ready to explore every nook and cranny of this new story? Sound off in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. The algorithm is its own mechanism, and I'm trying to be like my boy Jodio here. That's my goddamn idol right there. Peace out.